Ancient Near East. The series is inspired by the publication of the book Arqueologia of Ancient Near East Materiality Through Time, em português, Arqueologia através dos tempos, né? Arqueologia do Oriente Antigo, materialidade através dos tempos, which has served as an important starting point for reflections and dialogue in our field. I would like to take this opportunity to warmly thank Professor Márcio Teixeira Bastos, as well as the students from LARP and LABECA for their partnership and dedication in organizing this event. Today, we have the honor of welcoming Professor Janoscha Kreppner, whose presence greatly enriches our meeting and contributes to the deepening of the discussions we aim to foster in this space. I would also like to remind those who are following Professor Kreppner's lecture on the LARP's YouTube channel that you are welcome to write your questions and comments in the chat during the talk. We will open the floor for questions at the end of the presentation. Now, I will hand it over to Professor Márcio, who will properly introduce our guest speaker. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Wagner. Thank you also, Professor Florian Janoscha Kreppner. And this is a great opportunity to be in touch and develop more research in Southern America. And we are very honored to have you with us this morning in Brazil and noon in Germany. Professor Janoscha is the chair of the Archaeology, Near Eastern and Philology and Ancient Near Eastern in the University of Munster. He was professor also in other universities such as Berlin, Free Berlin, and also in Izmir, and other prestigious universities such as Tübingen University, and also connected as an assistant of research in the Munich University with Professor Karin Redner. It's a long German tradition in the study of Near Eastern archaeology, and in the share in Near Eastern archaeology was created around the 70s, and Professor Florian Janoscha Kreppner is the third professor that's chair of this line of research in German and at Munster University. So today he's with us to talk about the Peixda archaeological project and some of the results. Actually, it's Peixda Plain project, and he's here to talk about the results of the seasons of excavation and archaeological research in Iraq. So many thanks, Professor Janoscha. We open the floor for you, and we are very honored for having you with us.
Thank you very much, Márcio and Wagner, for producing first this great book, and also for giving me the opportunity to present my book chapter here. I will proceed in a little differently way in the lecture than in the book chapter. I will first present the historical context of this excavation site, Dinka settlement complex. I will explain this historical context in the Near East in more detail. And I will then present the excavation results. So this part includes also what has been topic in the book chapter. However, in the third part of my presentation today, I will also include the latest findings from the final phase of the project, which are so new that they have not been included in the book chapter. And this last excavations have also modified our interpretations a little bit. So I will present this. So I will take you from Sao Paulo, wherever you are. I tried to find the university complex in Sao Paulo to take you across the globe to northeastern Iraq. The Dinka settlement complex is located in the Peshta plain. It is located in northeastern Iraq, directly at the border with northwestern Iran. So the modern border between Iraq and Iran was drawn on top of the highest ridge of the Zagros Mountains, which represent a natural border, and this has also served as a border zone in the past. I will start my short historical overview of northern Mesopotamia and the northern Zagros region in the second half of the second millennium BC. So the area which is important for us is encircled in red here. So in the ancient Near East, from 1600 to 1200 BCE, states of comparable power competed with each other and maintained diplomatic relations, documented in the so-called Amarna letters, which were found in Egypt. Around 1200 BCE, the political, economic, and cultural systems in the Eastern Mediterranean region collapsed. This also affected Assyria, which again is shown in pink here. And here also climate change led to crop failures and also to migrations of Arabic nomads into regions on territory which was before controlled by Assyria. So as a result, the Assyrian territory shrank to its core area on the Tigris in the north of present-day Iraq. The Hittite state in the north disappeared completely, and the Babylonian state here in green and Egypt here in blue went through periods of weakness in which the previously ruling dynasties were replaced. In Assyria, here again in pink, however, the same dynasty remained in power from the second millennium to the 7th century BCE. The political situation around Assyria had changed fundamentally. There were no states of comparable size, but rather local principalities. Now you can see all the small dots now here surrounding Assyria. So these small local principalities had to accept Assyria's supremacy and were bound to Assyria by oaths and tribute payments. So when Assyria rose in the 9th century BCE to become a great and preeminent imperial power, the territory directly controlled from the heartland and organized as provinces was gradually expanded including the Zagros region, and from the middle of the 8th century BCE, even what is now Western Iran. So the dashed lines show the expansion of the Assyrian Empire here during the 9th and 10th century BC, and here during the 8th and 7th centuries BCE. And with the occupation of Babylon 710 and the intervention in Egypt 664, Assyria took on the character of a great empire. In the first half of the first millennium BCE, the Assyrian Empire had developed into the largest and most complex political power structure that the Near East had ever seen. It reached its peak under the kings Asarhaddon and Assurbanipal, when Assyria temporarily exercised supremacy over Babylonia and Egypt, and is therefore referred to as the First World Empire. Internal reasons are cited for its decline. For example, that it was an expansive system whose collapse was inevitable once it reached a certain size. So the state financed itself through tributes from newly conquered territories. But if natural borders like the Mediterranean or the high mountains like Taurus Mountains in the north or Zagros Mountains in the east or the Syrian desert do not allow a further expansion, the empire had to collapse. And so at the end of the 7th century BC, so in 714 and 614 and 612 BC, a population group from the Zagros Mountains, the Medes, played a prominent role in the fall of the Assyrian Empire. So a coalition of Babylonians and Medes attacked the capitals and destroyed them. So this was the end of the Assyrian Empire. So this is the context. You have seen that the Peshta Plain, which will be the main topic of today's talk, is in the frontier region with the Assyrian Empire. And where do we get information about the Zagros inhabitants? There are no indigenous written sources from the Zagros region. So our information about the people of the Zagros comes mainly from Assyrian written sources. Two groups of texts can be distinguished. First, annals. So these are official records organized by year, which were written on behalf of the king to record his deeds or posterity. These are repetitive narratives recounting victorious military campaigns, city conquests, and the receipt of tributes, and so on. So, propaganda. In the so-called royal correspondence, administrators of provinces address the king. These texts provide better information because of their practical and administrative concerns. They mainly deal with the exploitation of local resources, warfare, and control strategies. Both source genres take the perspective of the Assyrian ruling elite with their political, economic, and strategic interests. In most Assyrian texts, Zagros inhabitants take on the role of enemies. The description of being a mountain dweller was often used to emphasize the negative characterization of an enemy. The Assyrians saw themselves as representatives of a millennia-old urban society with a pronounced hierarchy, which naturally claimed cultural superiority when describing their encounters with the mountain population. This perspective was also adopted by modern researchers for a long time. Also, for a long time, the Zagros Mountains were regarded as peripheral, which is why little archaeological research was carried out. Later, archaeological research was not possible due to the Kurdish conflicts and the three Gulf Wars. So, the Iraq-Iran Gulf War and the US-Iraqi Gulf Wars. So, excavations have only been carried out since the 1910s, but the security situation has varied from year to year. Why were the Zagros Mountains so important for the Assyrians? The Assyrian heartland is located in the resource-poor Mesopotamian lowlands, which is bordered by the resource-rich mountain ranges of the Taurus Mountains in the north and the Zagros Mountains in the east. There was a lack in important resources in the Assyrian heartland, like timber for building activities, copper and tin and iron for the production of tools and weapons. These raw materials were available in the mountains, which plays a major role for the interpretation of our archaeological site. The Peshta Plain is located on the Little Zab River, which so the rivers do not only represent the lifelines of Mesopotamia by creating the basis for irrigation, agriculture, but also served as important traffic routes and connect the lowland regions with the mountain area. The Peshta Plain, you can see it here. This is now a map of Iran. So the Peshta Plain is located in the central metamorphic zone of the Zagros mountain, and this region is shown in purple here on the geological map of Iran and contains numerous metal ore deposits. An important traffic route is known from Assyrian texts. This map shows Assyrian roads as reconstructed from Assyrian texts, and one important route connects the Assyrian heartland here at the Tigris River via Arbail, this is modern Erbil, and Haranya, Anisu, so to what was then called Hubushkia on the Iranian side. So you can see here the main mountain chain, which is the modern border with the passes, and the location of the Peshta Plain here on this route. So the economic success of the Dinka settlement complex in the Peshta Plain could therefore be sought in its location on the river, which joins the Tigris in the Mesopotamian lowlands, very close to the Assyrian capital Assur, close to the traffic route, and also close to the metal deposits. The Peshtar plain is located at the foot of the main ridge of the Zagros Mountains. So you can see the plain here, and this is the main chain of the Zagros Mountain. So here, this is the modern border between Iraq and Iran. So this is shown here, this mountain ridge. And originally we thought that the two archaeological sites, Kalati Dinka and Girdi Bazar, are two archaeological sites, two different settlements. So Kalati Dinka is the hilltop, so the viewpoint here with a citadel, and here in the plain there is a large lower town expanding towards this chicken farm, which is the archaeological site Girdi Bazar. So when we realized that we deal with one very large site, we decided to call it the Dinka settlement complex. Yeah, in fact, it is one archaeological site. So between 2015 and 2023, the Peshtar Plain project carried out 12 excavation campaigns, and these were closely coordinated with extensive geophysical surveys based on the surface pottery. The size of the settlement can be estimated at approximately 60 hectares, which is substantial for this mountain region. Excavations were carried out in 3 operations on the western slope of Kalati Dinka. So QID is Kalati Dinka, trench 1, 2, and 3, and 3 trenches in the lower town. So DLT is Dinka Lower Town, trench 1, which is Girdi Bazar, and then trench 2 and trench 3. There are isolated traces of settlement from different periods that are also represented in C14 dating, such a Chalcolithic kiln here in blue in DLT3, or a Seleucid grave shown in green here in Kalati Dinka 1, or a Sasanian cemetery shown in orange here. The main settlement phase is the Iron Age, so all these white dates, during which all settlement areas were inhabited, as is clear from the 6 excavation operations, surface pottery, and geophysical prospection. On the western slope of Kalati Dinka, the settlement is divided into 2 areas by a quarter circle anomaly. This is shown as a red dotted line here, and this divides an inner settlement to an outer one. This obviously represents a fortification, and so we have excavated 2 trenches here. So the trench Kalati Dinka 2, shown here on the photo on the geophysic map, and so this sloping stone structure in Kalati Dinka trench 2 took up most of this trench and was covered with the same pottery encountered elsewhere in the settlement, we interpret it as a glacis, a feature frequently used in antiquity to reinforce defensive walls. And the trench 3, located here, was excavated at a distance of 40 meters to Calatindica. Trench 2, here a long wall made of loosely attached stones was unearthed, possibly a rampart once supporting a wooden palisade. So we interpreted it might have been looked something like this. In Calatindica Trench 1, an area of circa 200 square meters, so on the higher position here, and in the geophysics it's here. So our work uncovered the remains of a large building of impressive dimensions with white stone walls featuring stone pilasters and a paved floor. The monumentality of the architecture sets the building apart from those unearthed so far in the lower town. We interpret it as a temple. Unfortunately, this area was heavily disturbed by modern looting. Graves with cylinder seals and fibula were found next to the building. The 2015 to 2017 rescue excavations focused on the chicken farm grounds in Girdi Bazar. An area of 1,100 square meters has been uncovered. It was possible to obtain a clear picture of the organization, structure, and function of this part of the lower town. 11 buildings are situated around an central open space. The buildings are separated by alleyways. They are organized according to a general pattern, but differ in detail. Largest rooms are labeled residential rooms, and they are characterized by few or no installations and few finds, including ceramics. This may indicate that these rooms were used as multifunctional living rooms. They were accessed from the alleyways and were often connected to a courtyard area where wells and bread baking ovens provided the comforts of everyday life. Finds and installations indicate that smaller rooms served as pottery workshops, 2 kilns, and the discovery of a pivot of a slow rotating potter's wheel demonstrate local pottery production. The image of the magnetometer prospection between Calatindica and Girdi Bazar shows that the area was densely covered with buildings that are separated by streets and alleys. The road system and blocks of buildings are oriented and organized in a semicircle around Calatindica. We are obviously dealing with an urbanized settlement. However, a city wall does not enclose this large settlement. In a slightly elevated position, a complex of 3 larger buildings is situated at DLT2 on the edge of the settlement. In spring 2017, we excavated a test trench here in order to investigate the stratigraphy, dating, and function of these buildings. The size of buildings K, 330 square meters, L, 700 square meters, and M, 530 square meters is considerably larger compared to other architectural units recognizable in the magnetometer picture. This suggests that these buildings had a central function for the settlement. Two charred Emma seats from the bottom of one large storage vessel gave radicarbon dates of 1012 to 824 BCE, which correspond with the majority of those from Gildi Bazar and Calatidinke. This indicates that the buildings in the different areas of the settlement, both on top of Calatidinke and in the different trenches in Dinka Lower Town, were occupied simultaneously. The current research program funded by the German Research Foundation is designed to investigate the three buildings K, L, and M. So building L was excavated in 2021, building K blue in 2022, and building M green in 2023. Now we are currently working on the publication of this project phase. Building A was separated from buildings K and M to the north by narrow alleys. They are only 1 meter wide. The floors of the alleyways abut the buildings. There are no older floors, so this confirms that buildings K, L, and M belong to one construction and occupation phase. Building L has an almost square floor plan with sides measuring 25 to 27 meters. It covers an area of approximately 700 square meters. The 2021 excavation revealed the basic layout of the building. Building L was designed in a systematic modular fashion. It consists of 4 building units, each separated from the others by double walls and construction joints, and they are arranged on the 4 sides of the courtyard. At the center of the building is the square courtyard 75, which covers an area of 210 square meters. Along the walls bordering the courtyard, an area of approximately 1.7 meters is demarcated by a row of stones carefully set into the ground. Square stone bases are placed at irregular intervals. These stone bases may have supported pillars made of wood or mud bricks, which in turn supported the roof of a portico surrounding the courtyard. It is therefore likely that only the central area of the courtyard, which is shown blue here, was unroofed. Room 37 is the largest room unearthed in buildings K, L, and M with 60 square meters. It is the only room with representative installations such as a threshold made of burnt bricks or a podium or white floor plaster. Because of these features, this room can be identified as the reception and representation room of the building. Room 35 is 48 square meters in size and is located in the northeast of the courtyard, from where it could be accessed via an entrance. It is characterized by clay benches along the boundary walls and with pitos vessels on top. The archaeobotany has shown that grain was stored in these vessels. Building K has a somewhat irregular rectangular floor plan. It covers an area of around 330 square meters. 9 rooms are arranged around the central courtyard. The building is divided into 5 building units, each enclosed by perimeter walls. The building could be accessed from an alley in the northwest, and the main entrance was located close the intersection of 4 alleyways. A door socket here, or here to see was still in situ on the inside of the room, which is why the passageway could be closed with a single leaf door. Room 40 was the largest room in the building at 29 square meters. The numerous stone installations and ceramic shards on the floor suggest that particular work processes took place here. So not a representation room, it's a place of work. And rooms 91 and 92 are accessible from the courtyard and are characterized by stone installations and furnaces. At least 3 furnaces were also used in room 93. The existence of a well in the courtyard and the extensive stone paving indicate that water was involved in the work processes. In courtyard 94, a ceramic mold indicates that the furnaces shown before may have been used for metalworking. Building M covers 530 square meters and has 2 courtyards. Once again, the modular construction concept is striking here. Rooms 103, 44, and 107 are characterized as storage rooms by clay and stone benches in front of the boundary walls and lots of pottery. In building M, we uncovered 8 furnaces in 6 rooms. We found the same round furnace types as in building K, but also 2 square furnaces. Room 108 has 3 furnaces, some stone installations, and numerous finds, including stone molds. The green dots show the position of 29 molds or mold fragments, and red dots show metal slag. There's a high concentration of mold fragments in room 108 and neighboring rooms. This slide shows molds and slags. In building M, bronze seems to have been heated in the furnaces and poured into the molds. The mold of an X, this one with a shaft, is particularly well preserved, and this is why I would like to show a 3D scan of this mold to you. It's about 20 centimeter long and 10 centimeters high. Yeah, and to come to the conclusions, C14 samples date the use of the main occupation period of the 60-hectare Dinka settlement complex to the early first millennium BC. So this is 1050 to 800 BCE. It was an indigenous settlement at the time of the expansion of the Assyrian Empire. The settlement obviously benefited economically from the enormous resource requirements of the expanding Assyrian Empire. The ceramics and architecture are clearly an indigenous tradition and show no direct Assyrian control. The recent excavations have revealed that the three largest buildings in the lower town of the Dinka settlement complex were obviously used as a large metalworking center. Various functions and activities were distributed among these three buildings, while building L was used for representation and housed a central granary. Buildings K and M were dedicated for metal production. The fact that the three largest buildings in the lower town of the Dinka settlement complex were used for metalworking was not on my radar when writing the book chapter, and I had rather assumed that the three large buildings would be the administrative center for the lower town. However, the location close to the metal deposits in the mountains next to the river, over which the heavy goods could be floated downstreams to the Mesopotamian lowlands and Assyria, the Assyrian heartland, and the important traffic routes to Assyria certainly favored the development of this large metalworking center. The present study conducted in the Zagros Mountains has provided new insights to a region that has received little scholarly attention to date. This area lies on the eastern border of the Neo-Assyrian Empire and is of significant importance for understanding the Iron Age Middle East, including the expansion of the Assyrian Empire. The results of our excavations provide revised interpretation of the information derived from Assyrian written sources and offer a new perspective on the complex indigenous society in the Zagros Mountains. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention.
Hello. It was long.
Thank you so much for a talk, Professor Janoscha. You are really inspired. So I'm impressed about the complexity of the life that people in that period is incredible. I'm really impressed.
Yeah. Well, it's the strong research that you made it there, and I would like to congratulate you because it's a long project that brings up and reveal new results in the Near Eastern archaeology. So in this sense, it's very original, and for us, a privilege to have access to these results and data, because I don't know, it's not an easy region to have a long-term research project. It's not an easy thing to do it. So that's highlights more your work, and the results are fascinating indeed. this center of metal production in the Bronze Age. We're talking about Bronze Age, right?
Now, well, it depends on which region. So in this region, it's like early Iron Age. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so the main occupation period of this site is 1050 to 800 BC. And also because in these Zagros mountains, we have the difficulty that in Iraq, usually terminology follows historical terminology. So it's the Near-Syrian period. And in northwestern Iran, there is this Iron Age chronology. And with this border, there are two traditions. And in fact, this is a problem because in history, there were the same people on both sides of the modern border.
Yeah.
And so we decided to label it Iron Age 2 now. So the northwestern Iranian chronology, they start with the Iron Age 1, 1250 to 1050 BC. And we decided to follow this terminology. And so let's say we are in the first, so in the very early first millennium. This is the date.
Indeed. And in the zone of a border, right? So that's what
Yes.
highlights more your case, because you can analyze a region, the frontiers of
So
this.
when we started this project, our working hypothesis was that we would investigate a settlement which was urbanized with the Assyrian imperial presence. Because this is what we faced before with the Assyrian expansion to the north or to the west, the east is less intensive investigated. And it seems that there is a difference because of this mountain region. This is extremely difficult to control this. And so because of the modern political situation, almost no investigations have been conducted in these mountain regions, especially not with modern methods. And when we started with the geophysics, it turned out that we deal with with one huge settlement. First, when the archaeologists brought us there, they told us here there are two settlements, and then we started with a small one, and then we realized no, there's everywhere is pottery, and then we did the geophysics. And I'm wondering if there might be more such large settlements which have not been identified so far, because lower towns, they are in this region not so easy to identify. And so with our new methods, we were able to identify this lower town.
Yeah, complex, right?
Mm.
A settlement, a complex settlement, a
Mm.
large area of occupation, and what highlights even more the project. It's this application of geophysics and what we are trying to develop in Brazil, calling us a archaeometric, spatial archaeometry. That is this approach that takes into consideration the space, and with new geophysics and geology and geoarchaeology methods. I mean, modern in general methods that we have to apply to the archaeological inquiry. So that makes this case in Iraq and your research even more interesting. We received a comment here from Marceli Silva in the chat, and she said that the lower plants are quite similar in the 50th century Persian buildings. I've read about the similarities before, but haven't seen as clearly as I am seeing today. So it seems a compliment about the what you show in terms of the lower plants. I mean, probably the buildings and all the the data that you have shown. So yeah, so it's a comment, and
I can also say something to that. So these three buildings I've shown at the third part of the presentation, these three buildings which turned out to be a metal production center. So when we saw those in the geophysics, we thought, wow, they are so huge. This is the administrative center. And then when we started to excavate, we first excavated the one in the middle with the representation room and the granary. And it was so well built, so clearly organized with these modules put to each other. And there's one feature which I want to explain maybe in a little more detail here because of this comment, that one feature for the Achaemenid period are these pillar halls. Yeah, and there are predecessors in this northwestern Iranian region in Hassanlu, and so with also like pillar halls. And for northern Mesopotamia and Assyria, this is completely not typical. What is typical there are courtyard houses with an inner courtyard and rooms organized around all this. And what we found here is something in between, now with this courtyard and then this portico around. So this is the first example of this combination.
that's really interesting indeed.
Really.
Yeah, especially for the Syrian Empire, and you know, in the architectural terms, it's also a unique case. So, in many aspects, here we can see today that you have a unique case for the results that you have in the site. I don't know, Wagner, do you wanna make a comment and talk?
Yes. I'm curious about the methodology. You said that you use magnetometry, if I understood well. And my question is, when and why you decide for this method, geophysical method? You thought about the GPR or LiDAR and said, no, I will use this, or you tried another ones, you decide to use this one because it's better. What the difference?
Yeah, we applied also several different methods. So the with the magnetometer prospection was really the one which helped us a lot to identify this large settlement. But we also combined this with ERT, so with electro tomography, so which gives sections into the deep. So the magnetometer survey covers what is very close to the surface, and it's possible to cover a large area. And the ERT gives like sections down, and you can see what is in the depth, but only in a line. This also brought very interesting and important results to us because we have also a water system with channels. I didn't show this today. Okay, we have a very specific situation here that this Iron Age is well preserved just underneath the modern surface. So this works very well here, and So this is a very lucky situation. There's only little modern building activity. So the chicken farm, which I mentioned several times, was actually the starting point for the excavations, because this was served. So this Girdi Bazaar was surveyed, and then they came back a year later, and then there was a chicken farm. So we started with rescue excavations here, and we tried to cover large area. So yes, so for us, we also do environmental investigations with coring, yeah, and then investigating the soils, but also to check if there's archaeology, maybe even deeper. And so we try to use different methods. Yeah. Also, of course, like archaeobotany, archaeozoology, material studies, anthropology, and so on and so on. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Great.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much for the explanation. Because in archaeology, it's important to say for our students, because in archaeology we have this situation. It's sometimes we need to try this way, another way, see the better situation, the better position, the better results that we can see here, combine methodologies. So it's important to explain for our students. Thanks so much for that.
Yeah, so I think it's pretty much that's it. We would like to thank you again, Janoscha, for your wonderful lecture, and for the also for the collaboration and the research that we are developing together, for all the friendship and partnership, and for especially for the chapter in the book again. And for today, that was really a great meeting, and we are very happy and honored to have you here. So, from my behalf, is that's it, and Wagner, it's up to you.
I'd like to say thank you again, Janoscha, for this partnership, for the friendship. So we hope we can stay with you really soon on another project. So and so I think we can say thank you, and we need to thank our students for help us with this all.
Anselmo, that
Yeah,
assistant.
yeah, Anselmo for that, and thank you so much, Janoscha, for that.
Oh, thank you for having me, and yeah, thank you very, very much.
Okay, so
See you there.
bye, guys.
Yeah, bye, bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.